The 10 craziest NBA trade rumors of all time. So, since it's the start of the 2016 offseason, and we've already seen some pretty crazy trades go down, like Derrick Rose going to the New York Knicks and Victor Oladipo going to the Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as plenty of trade rumors involving Jimmy Butler, DeMarcus Cousins, and Gordon Hayward, I wondered to myself, what are the craziest NBA trade rumors of all time? In the history of NBA trade rumors, there have been some pretty incredible ones, so let me break it down for you guys, and here are the 10 craziest NBA trades that almost came to fruition. Number 10. Charles Barkley for James Worthy and Elden Campbell. The round man of rebound was one of the greatest power forwards of all time. During his time with the 76ers, he played very well, but in 1992, Charles Barkley went on a record that year saying that the Sixers weren't giving him enough to work with to come close to an NBA title. After the comments made by Charles Barkley, rival general managers started making inquiries to Philadelphia to see what they could take to get Sir Charles. Reportedly, the Los Angeles Lakers sweetened the pot the best and were super close to making a trade that would send three-time champion James Worthy and future NBA champion Elden Campbell to the Philadelphia 76ers for Charles Barkley. In the end, however, the Phoenix Suns came up with Jeff Hornacek, Tim Perry, and Andrew Lang, and that was good enough to win the Charles Barkley sweepstakes. Chuck would never win an NBA championship in his 16-year NBA career, but he was an MVP in his first year with the Phoenix Suns. It still would have been crazy to see Magic and Charles on the same team outside of the 1992 Olympics. Unfortunately though, this trade never went through, but if it would have, Magic retired in 1991 from HIV anyway, so they probably would have never played on the same team, but it still would have been cool to see Chuck lead the Lakers to the playoffs though. Number 9. Chris Paul and Emeka Okafor to the Portland Trailblazers in a 4-player package. Before Chris Paul was with the LA Clippers, a ton of rumors surrounding Chris Paul during the 2011-12 season. Chris Paul, even at his time in New Orleans, was one of the league's best point guards. The New Orleans Hornets were allegedly unable to afford a marquee player due to their ownership issues, so several GMs made pitches when his name came up as available. The Los Angeles Lakers made the most famous one, which included Pau Gasol, but was ultimately denied by the league as David Stern vetoed the trade. One of the craziest rumors was the Portland Trailblazers though. They were trying to get Chris Paul and Emeka Okafor out of New Orleans for Andre Miller, Joel Prisbilla, Nicholas Batum, Jared Bayless, and their first round pick. The Clippers eventually ended up getting Chris Paul and 2 future second rounders for Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, Al-Farouq Aminu, and a conditional pick. But if Chris Paul got traded to the Trailblazers, that would have been nasty. Paul, LaMarcus Aldridge, and maybe even a chance to still select Damian Lillard or Andre Drummond, since the Trailblazers actually selected Lillard, but not with their own pick. That would have been crazy. Number 8. Isaiah Thomas for Tony Campbell and Tim McCormick. As we all know, the Knicks have gotten to know Isaiah Thomas pretty well in recent years. Maybe not for the best, but when he was playing in the NBA at age 32, Isaiah Thomas was winding down his illustrious NBA career with the Detroit Pistons. During the 1993-1994 season, when the New York Knicks ended up losing Doc Rivers to an injury in 1994, the significance of that was the fact that Michael Jordan had retired for the first time in the NBA, leaving a window of opportunity for the Knicks to win a title. So they needed to make a splash. A master plan involved calling up the Detroit Pistons to make an offer for the veteran point guard by parting with Tony Campbell and Tim McCormick. The Knicks also apparently tried to throw in the 24th pick in the 1994 NBA draft. In the case, the financials of the deal sunk in, and Thomas wrapped up his career with the Pistons. Had Isaiah accepted the trade to New York, he may very well have personally been back in the title hunt. He might have helped Patrick Ewing win an NBA championship in 1994 versus Houston. He might have never suffered a torn Achilles tendon still donning in the Pistons uniform. And he possibly could have played several more seasons beyond the 1993-1994 season. If only Isaiah was traded to the New York Knicks. How crazy would that have been with Patrick Ewing? Number 7. Scottie Pippen for Shawn Kemp and a Seattle package. When Michael Jordan shocked the sports world and announced before the 1993-94 season that he would retire to play baseball, it looked like the Bulls would be going into a rebuild mode. Scottie Pippen, MJ's right-hand man and a superstar at both ends of the court, would be prime trade bait if retooling was truly the case. What actually was rumored came from the Seattle Supersonics coach George Karl, who said the Bulls offered Scottie Pippen in return for Shawn Kemp, Ricky Pierce, and several draft picks. It was said that the Sonics turned down the trade, while the Bulls flat out denied that they ever made Pippen available. Good thing for Chicago that they didn't trade Scottie Pippen, because Pippen, Jordan, and the Bulls would win 3 NBA championships in 1996, 97, and 98 when MJ came back. Number 6, Scottie Pippen again, but this time in a trade involving Tracy McGrady. Scottie Pippen, the man that never got a lot of respect when it came to NBA trade rumors. Pippen was a vital part of the Bulls' championship machine in 1997, when it was widely rumored that the Bulls weren't quite done shopping Pippen around. It's believed that Jerry Krause was the Bulls' general manager and wanted to send Scottie Pippen to the Toronto Raptors in exchange for the 9th overall pick in the 1997 NBA draft. That draft pick ended up being Tracy McGrady, who was selected by the Toronto Raptors. Many people believe that the trade fell through simply for the fact that Michael Jordan did not want to play with anyone other than Scottie Pippen. And I guess you could say that the best deals are sometimes the ones that don't get made. Applied as the Bulls would win in 1997 and 1998 to gain 2 NBA championships, with Pippen riding the shotgun to Jordan. Number 5, Larry Bird for Chuck Person and a draft pick. Had this trade gone through, one of the best trash-talking episodes in history of the NBA would have never happened. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain. In 1998, the Indiana Pacers wanted to bring back Larry Bird to his home state by sending 1987 Rookie of the Year and 3-point wizard Chuck Person and the number 2 overall pick to the Boston Celtics. The Celtics turned down the Pacers' offer, and the Pacers were instead able to select Rick Smits at the number 2 overall pick, and he would stick around for 12 seasons, while Larry Bird would only just play 3 more seasons, so maybe it wasn't too bad for the Pacers that the Boston Celtics denied the trade. As for the trash talk story, the Celtics and the Pacers were about to lock up in a Christmas Day game in 1991, when Larry Bird told Chuck Person before the contest he had a present for him. During the game, Larry Bird shot a 3-pointer, turned around and looked at Person, who was sitting on the bench, and said, "Merry effing Christmas." He ran back down the court as the shot went in. Imagine if this trade went through though. How crazy would that have been? Larry Bird joining Indiana, a place where he grew up and played basketball. As we all know, Larry Bird is now the general manager, and he's doing pretty well. He just acquired Thaddeus Young, and he also acquired Jeff Teague, so he's making moves for Indiana. Anyway, let's get back onto the trade rumors. Number 4, Michael Jordan to the Los Angeles Clippers for 5 players of the Bulls' choice. This is probably the craziest NBA trade rumor of all time, and the crazy thing is, it was so close to happening. In the 1980s and the 1990s, the Los Angeles Clippers were a miserable team and organization who couldn't even fill out the arena if they gave out free tickets. Donald Sterling, the GM at the time, at least tried to turn the ship around by making an offer to the Chicago Bulls in 1987 for a young Michael Jordan. Sterling apparently offered the weirdest trade for the superstar, to the point of allowing the Bulls to select any 5 players off the Clippers roster, a passel of draft picks, or any combination that they wanted. The Bulls were reported to have been on the cusp of making the deal, but backed out at the last minute. Great move by Chicago. But how insane would that have been? The greatest player of all time playing for the Los Angeles Clippers, that would have been like the Brooklyn Nets now, giving up any 5 of their best players and some draft picks for LeBron James or Steph Curry. Pretty insane. I can't even imagine what would have happened if this trade went through. Number 3, Kobe Bryant to the Chicago Bulls. Kobe Bryant, as we all know, just recently retired from the NBA after 20 great seasons. Kobe only ever played for one team, although he got drafted by the Charlotte Hornets in the 1996 NBA draft. Unfortunately for Charlotte, he never played one game for them. Pretty unlucky. But, as we all know, he's only ever played for one team in his NBA career, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. But it might not have been that way had Chicago had its way in the 2007 NBA season. In fact, the deal was so close to happening, Kobe himself demanded a trade in an interview with Stephen A. Smith in 2007. Kobe himself said he wanted to be traded, and if you don't believe me, here's the interview.
Are you saying right here on this show that you want to be traded?
Yeah, I would like to be traded, yeah. There's no other alternative, They they obviously want to move in a different direction in terms of, rebuilding. I wish they would have, told me that. Don't tell me one thing and then do another.
Is there anything that the Los Angeles Lakers could do to make you change your mind and decide that you do not want to be traded?
No.
Nothing?
No.
With that being said, since you said that there's really nothing that they can do and you want them to do the right thing, and the right thing in your mind is to be traded, is there a particular team that you have a preference to go to?
Not really, man. At this point, I'll go play on Pluto right now. You know what I mean?
The Los Angeles Lakers weren't all that great then, and the ever-competitive Kobe Bryant wanted some more pieces around him so that the Lakers could contend again. Otherwise, he wanted out if they weren't going to do it. Luckily for the Lakers, they did. They managed to get some pieces to build around Kobe Bryant, like gaining Pau Gasol and a few other guys. But one of the craziest things would have happened if the Los Angeles Lakers wouldn't have got Pau Gasol and a few other pieces. One of the rumors that swirled around the Black Mamba was that he wanted to go to Jordan's Old Glory venue in Chicago. But in the end, it was Kobe Bryant that turned down the trade. How could that have been? A man that said he wanted out of LA, but turned down the trade to go to Chicago where he said he wanted to play. The reasoning? Let me explain. Kobe wanted to play with Luol Deng because he thought that he was a vital part of helping the Bulls win a title instead of Noah. Kobe wanted to play with Deng, but the Lakers weren't making the trade without actually getting Luol Deng. So in the end, a trade never went through. Kobe wouldn't have joined the Bulls if they didn't have Deng. So in the end, Deng was the main reason Kobe Bryant didn't go to Chicago. How crazy is that? But if this trade somehow went through, and it was Kobe and Deng together in Chicago, it means no Derrick Rose to Chicago, ultimately meaning that they don't get the youngest MVP winner of all time. But since he's now in New York, does it really matter? Kobe Bryant and a few championships doesn't sound too bad for Chicago, does it? Number 2. Ralph Sampson for Clyde Drexler and the number 2 overall pick in the 1984 NBA Draft. During the 1983-84 season, Ralph Sampson was the face of the Houston Rockets and fresh off his Rookie of the Year campaign of the 1982-83 season. Still, the Rockets still had their sights set on another player, Clyde the Glide Drexler of the Portland Trailblazers. Houston owned the number 1 overall pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, with the Portland Trailblazers right behind them in the 2-hole. Ralph Sampson and the number 2 overall pick fell through, but just imagine what could have been. Had the Houston Rockets completed the rumored swap, they could have taken Michael Jordan, who actually went number 3, and Hakeem Olajuwon number 1 to Houston at the same time. Imagine the number of championships the Rockets could have won had they been able to pull off that trade. That would have been scary. Hakeem was one of the only players to lead his team to a championship, not once but twice in the 90s, in an era that was all Michael Jordan. So imagine Hakeem and Jordan on the same team? Oh my goodness, that's all I can say. And lastly, number 1, Stephen Curry for Amar'e Stoudemire. Stephen Curry is probably the most talked about athlete in all of sports at this point. After winning back-to-back MVPs but losing in the NBA Finals 3-1, the whole NBA world is talking about either Steph Curry or LeBron James. The crazy thing is, he wasn't meant to be this great. In fact, he wasn't considered by most teams to be among the 5 best players available in the 2009 NBA Draft. However, to the Phoenix Suns, the point guard out of Tiny Davidson College was worth trading an established player for the rights to choose him. The Phoenix Suns power forward, Amar'e Stoudemire, at the time was at the top of his game in 2009, before heading to the New York Knicks. But his team was willing to part ways with him. The crazy thing is, the general manager at that time of the Phoenix Suns was Steve Kerr, the current Golden State Warriors head coach who loves Stephen Curry. But the Phoenix Suns was a team that was willing to part ways with Amar'e Stoudemire, to the point of shipping him to Golden State for the rights to pick Steph Curry with the 7th overall selection. The Warriors ultimately declined the offer, much to their current good fortune, while Stoudemire played only 2 more seasons with Phoenix, but has declined every year since. All I've got to say is, what if this trade went through? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's pretty crazy to see how all these what could have been scenarios and just imagining how these trades could have changed these particular teams. Also, I want you guys to try and guess which what if scenario I'm doing next. If you want to guess, let me know down below in the comment section, but I think I made it pretty obvious which scenario I'm doing next. It will still be cool to see if you guys can guess it right. Also, let me know any other players or teams that could have made crazy trades, or any crazy trade rumors that you've heard. If you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like to show your support, and if you want to see the next video, let's see if we can reach 2,000 likes on this one. If you're new around here, I make a whole bunch of NBA videos, what if scenarios, as well as 2K content, which don't worry, 2K content is coming. I'm going to be making a new MyGM series after the NBA draft and free agency is completed, where, I'm going to be using the crazy NBA rosters like, Derrick Rose on the Knicks and things like that. So let me know down below which team I should do for a new MyGM series after free agency. Anyway, if you guys want to subscribe, feel free. We're almost at 100K, which is crazy. I'm out. Peace.
Kobe showing a little bit of the young Kobe. Pop off, Kobe.